Okay, so welcome to my key activity. This is the final stage of it, and we're going to show you how everything worked out, the evidence of the experiments actually being uh, elaborated and brought to life from a single sheet of paper to real world. And yes, so let's begin. Oh, uh, so in this experiment, we actually used linear kinematics, and what kinematics do is that they involve the shape, the form, the pattern, and the sequencing of linear movement through time, without any particular reference to the forces that cause or result from the motion. So it's more of like a simpler way of viewing an experiment, and it actually helped us out in the end because it made the experiment much more easier and helped us bring what we had thought to mind to real world. Sorry. So the materials that we used were based off this image. So I used the skateboard, a rope, people, a chronometer, so that my mother could check the time that it took for me to go to one place to another, and that way it also helped me correct the pace that I was going. Tracker, because tracker helped me achieve everything, every single aspect of uh, data that I had to get, and a notebook, of course, because a notebook is really important in everyday life in case I miss something. So here I have the process of doing this, which was grabbing a rope and attaching it to the trucks of the skateboard and putting my sister in a comfortable position so that she wouldn't fall, and have my mother grab a camera and record the whole thing. And now I used the footage tracker to find the information that I needed. So let's see how that looks. Well, here is the process of what I explained earlier before here. And it was basically, as I explained it, attaching it, putting my sister in a comfortable position, and then starting to pull the rope in order for my teacher, for my sister to start advancing forward. And this is the first variables that I had planned for my experiment, but I was wrong because I chose actually three independent variables, which is not a no-go. But in the end, I changed it, and in a second, I will show you how. And and this is the final question that I used for my in order for me to find an experiment and a way in which I could use the variables that I already had and make it work. So, and it is, how does distance affect the time it takes to arrive to a place? Pulling a girl on a skateboard, the discount Tony Hawk was the name of my experiment, so that I could remember it easily. And this is the variables already corrected, which was the independent variable, which was the distance that the skateboard is going to travel, the dependent variable, which was the time it took it to finish the skateboard journey, which was measured in seconds, and the controller variable, which was the speed in which it was going to be pulled. And it, because I didn't have any kind of robot precision, of course there is some slight changes into the pace that I had, but by taking the average speed, I think that this can work, and I did that in this experiment. The result is this: I tracked the distance, and as we see, I tracked every little bit of movement so that my table could be as precise as possible. And as we see here, we have the data, and in this part we have the graph, and we see a slight curvature upward, which means that at the very beginning, I did have a slow beginning, but it seems like it kind of went straight after that. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, yeah. And here it's there is the results of this graph, and and I took them and put it into Excel so that I could have another formal representation of this. And here is the equation that that Excel used in order for this. And now here we have some evidence of what we did, in which we show well the process, some unedited images of the process. And as a conclusion, here we have the dependent variables, and in the end, I actually did 4 more experiments by only changing the independent variable a little bit, which changed the dependent variable, obviously. And I did that because here we have the message that I had to read in order for me to correct all these things. And yes, it helped me a lot in order to find a correct answer to everything and to find the answer to the question that I had before, which was how does distance affect the time it takes to arrive to a place? And of course, it is really simple. It, the longer you are in the path, the more time it will take for you to get there. And of course, yeah, that's the end. And thank you for putting attention to me. And yeah, it was a really interesting project. I think I had a lot of fun with it. Well, not in some parts because I actually did have some issues in my presentation. In my presentation, I showed them a little bit of them, but the fact that I wrapped 3 independent variables was I think that actually very confused me in the while working the second phase. So I didn't have a really good answer to my first question, which was the amount of force. And I think that I could correct that in the end, if I had another shot at it. But I think that the way I solved it while using the variables that I already knew was pretty good. And yeah, I think that this project came out pretty awesome. Goodbye. Thank you for paying attention to me.